Tonight's Bay Area Proud includes a story of redemption. But of course, for a person to be redeemed, they must have first fallen. And that's the case with a number of people in our story. But thankfully for them, there are those dedicated to helping them make the most of their second chances.
So I think a few of you will be speaking.
Most graduations cap off an achievement a few years in the making. But the one Joe Beeman is taking part in, well, it represents a bit more than that. Like half his life.
Yeah, it was a little more than half my life, yeah.
Joe was just 22 years old when he was convicted of murder and sent to prison. He would spend the next 24 years there.
You know, part of me felt like I deserved to be there. You know, that I deserved to die in prison. You know, I can't undo or make up for. There's no such thing as evening the scales.
But if Joe couldn't even the scales, he decided to use his time in prison to tilt them in a positive direction, which started with changing himself.
I didn't want to be the person who took another life. I didn't want to be that person anymore. I couldn't look myself in the mirror and be that person.
So Joe spent years working on his anger and mental health issues, but that's not all he worked on. Joe had had an interest in computers since he was young, even started writing software back when he was just 12. And so he took advantage of the limited resources in prison to learn even more, writing code in notebooks and even this calculator.
I wrote full-on apps, typing on those tiny little calculator keyboards, literally thousands of lines of code. This is the Pillar 1 classroom.
Which is why when Joe was released a little more than a year ago, he couldn't have landed in a better place than here.
Each fellow has their own room.
CROP, or Creating Restorative Opportunities in Programs, was just launching Ready for Life, a comprehensive residential program based in Oakland, aimed at turning the formerly incarcerated into the currently employed in the tech world.
It's a very challenging program.
In addition to classroom trainings, there were real-world tours of Silicon Valley companies.
You know, here I am, you know, I'm at this campus with all these engineers and just wondering, how is this my life, you know? I mean, because not so long ago I was staring at concrete walls.
No matter how many naysayers we have to battle, we're going to continue making that pathway.
But now, as part of Ready for Life's first graduating class, Joe and the dozen other graduates can now stare at their diplomas instead.
Okay.
Each one being given a second chance to make a positive contribution to society.
More groups like that are needed for society.
For Joe, it starts this week with an apprenticeship at the SAP Academy for Engineering.
It's an opportunity to look back at something I can be proud of instead of all the things that I can look back on and not be proud of, to put it mildly.
CROP was actually started by 4 inmates at Soledad Correctional Training Institute while they were there. It's really, I mean, I just scratched the surface. It's a remarkable group for what they do for these inmates, getting them back into society. And you heard briefly from the executive director, Tara Loya Harper, and I asked her, like, you know, this is just 8 or 9 people out of thousands, and she's like, "Hey, if we prove this is the model, we're not gonna be able to handle all of them, but it'll spread.
Right.
It's like Silicon Valley, start small and then takes over the world.
And one matters.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about turning your life around, though.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah.